kind of giving away my very prime research finding, which otherwise I wouldn't have done it anywhere else, because I want to bring it out in my new book on piracy. So here, this is about, early maritime activities, indigenous maritime practices and knowledge, early evidence of trade and navigation, and also influence of external powers in this time, which is again, it is not European hegemonic company-centric powers I'm talking about Greek, Romans, Arab traders, and impact on local maritime practices and trade network. Now, the finding is amazing, because in the 6th century maritime activities itself, if you want to find out what was happening at this coast, that there were these jats. Otherwise, we know jats are like, we always connect with them in northwest frontier or northwest Haryana and that belt. But they were originally in this Indus and Kutch region and were driven out from this region when the Hunas and the Mihiras they were the one who attacked this region, right? And after being driven out from that region, where did they go is what we have to kind of focus, and this will give you totally a new kind of element to our historical preponderousness throughout the Arabian Sea and then Indian Ocean. So look at this migration of jats to Bahrain, Gulf, and their involvement in Sasanian naval expedition, that is Persia and Nosirwan's great expedition, they contributed. In fact, what has been established today or till today, the Arabs have been contesting that most of the seafaring and shipbuilding knowledge in hybrid form originates from their coast, but the jats were the one who were the element, not the Arabs. The biggest finding is that, and this is somewhere missing in our discourse. Fortunately, we have sources. Fortunately, we have sources to tell us what we were, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have got to know only that, okay, this kind of history also about maritime routes and its domination and the idea of maritime republic also we can conceptualize as the Mediterranean and the Atlantic Ocean historians have been doing it. Where are we? When we talk about Indian Ocean and being the singular dominant heart of the Indian Ocean, Maldives kind of connects it and calls it the heart, whereas heart is not this tiny bit, right? The heart has to be proper heart, right? And that is in India and the Indian Ocean. So we talk about Amravati's decline, and this particular decline of Amravati went in favor of Gujarat at this moment. And the Jats were the element and not the Arabs. Think about it again and again so that you get a clear idea about that you are not talking about any ordinary time frame and the ordinary history, because UN Sangh also talks about how Saurashtra was dependent on the idea of maritime commerce and livelihood. So far, when I had published OUP publication with Professor Edward Alpers, that time the chair of Darshak Ityas Nidhi, Hasmukh Shah, contested our introduction, saying that we were not that sea-oriented. If we were not that sea or oceanic, consciousness wasn't there as much, then how come we can have UN Sangh saying that there is a dependency on maritime commerce and livelihood? Now this itself talks about presence of Hindu communities in Persian cities and practicing their religion freely. Now this kind of cosmopolitan approach and the interfaith dialogue also has to come from syncretic tradition which Gujarat have been following since centuries, right? So when we talk about this particular period, Jats and maritime influence in their role, you have to understand why I was talking about the Jats. Now this particular slide gives you the answer, and it talks about the Jat influence in the maritime raids against the Gujarat and Konkan coast, and because see, they were thrown out, now they want to come back. but not simply come back, but with the idea of political domination, political claim, and geopolitical idea. Now, these are the times which we think that, oh, those waters were very calm and quiet waters, serene, nothing great, only good cultural, commercial engagement. Come on. Violence is constant as far as human history is concerned. Peace is negotiable. So when we talk about Arabs' control over sea raids originating from Jat-settled Persian Gulf, not from Arabia directly, it contrasts with the Mediterranean Arabs who lacked maritime prowess, because they were so much aided by the Jat element. The Arabs could come over to the Arabian Sea, and the name itself, otherwise the name was Sindhu Sagar, by the way. For our own knowledge, Sindhu Sagar turned out to be Arabian Sea, and this element comes from the Jats' contribution. And these Jats, otherwise in the Mediterranean world, were not having any presence. So this is again a theory which has to be relooked, rethought, and reinvestigated. So we go over to the migration to Java, Cambodia, and significant sea migration from Gujarat to Southeast Asia. Also, I'll show you one image that will tell you that how there is this historical fiction and novel written on this particular adventure in the time which I'm talking about, 7th and 8th centuries, which has not been documented, by the way. And it gives you a very, a kind of incomplete picture or gap in history, and silence is in history. And this is where we become very landlocked. We are not oceanic, by the way, in our historical documentation, right? We have been so land-centric that we are not looking at how these Arab, Persians, and the Gujarat coast was part of this Canton trading world, and Jat involvements as pilots and pirates. Now these are the stories which needs to come from our pages. And then we go to the idea of how they are developing this science, which today, entire day I was hearing about, that what kind of innovations they are bringing about in their scientific approach towards navigational and covering of nautical miles as far as navigational technology was concerned in this region, and development of the Machi Yantra, or a divine fish machine by local Brahmins for navigation. This is coming from the idea of hybrid form of knowledge. Now this interaction has to be noted, right? That this is not just the exchange of commerce, but here the technology transfer is happening. And how are we developing our own compass and our own other kind of seafaring techniques, which is giving us the mobility towards the oceanic world. And that turns out to be transoceanic eventually. So emerging seafaring communities were Kirks, Maids, Makran, Sinkos. All of these communities are not at all counted upon. Now as much as others who would read maritime would know about Bhadalas and Kharwas, that also those who know about maritime. None of the maritime seafaring communities have been celebrated in history. I mean, the question remains question, why? Why are we so sea-blinded that we are not looking at their contribution in giving us the prowess which we enjoyed once upon a time? So in this particular slide, where I took you to the ancient times, and the overview tells you the story that 6th century onwards till 8th century, influence of Indian subcontinent has to be accounted, indigenous communities to be counted, and also complex interplay between external powers and local tradition. Complex. This is a complex word. Complexity, we are just simplifying in our narrative by not even documenting or not even looking at it. So the idea is that where it takes, that particular time, where it is reaching to. where it is culminating into. It is taking us to entrepreneurial culture. The evolution of entrepreneurial culture in the Gulf of Kutch was driven by the growth of mercantile communities. And this is the overview of my paper, where I am talking about global trading networks stemming out of that particular seafaring, shipbuilding, and of course maritime oceanic trading networks. That dense, complex, and trans-regional networks are coming up. This is the historicity of my findings as far as Gujarati records are concerned. And these are not, see, what happens is that our regional languages, other than Sanskrit, of course, very important, but the Devanagari transcription of it in different forms has to be read, because it talks about Kutch, Saurashtra, Gujarat, Hindustan. Now, Hindustan, the term wouldn't come in Gujarati just like that, right? And the idea is that what Gunvantraya Acharya says, that if you do not really record 1,000 years of our history with sea, then you are actually not talking about history. He is talking about his times, that is 1950s and 60s, when he voraciously wrote 30 sea-centric novels. In fact, 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, he just kept on writing. He died, when he died, that day he completed one of his novels. This much dedication he was having towards that particular aspects. Imagine if he was the one, he wouldn't have written, we wouldn't have known these pages at all. So this is where, insightfully, those who ignore the seal, please read it carefully so that you get an idea what I'm trying to say and emphasize. Those who ignore the sea will never completely understand our region or country's history, he cautions. And then Acharya rightly understood the sea on the long literal for 1,000 years of history by outsiders to conquer and dominate one port after another, from Kathiawar to Somnath to Diu to Mandvi. So you can make out that why was that exercise, continuous exercise of dominating the west coast. That means west coast had so much to offer, right? And then we will understand Dungarshi Dharamsi Sampat also, his work also. And look at this particular, out of this entire slide, forget about everything. What is he talking about? A narrow strip of lake, which is Indian lake, not the British lake. And we happily gave away to the Eurocentric version of British lake. Why? You all are getting my point. What? Because the rising maritime ventures of seafarers, of merchants, pirates, and Gulf of Kutch prompted Acharya to construct the idea of Indian lake. And on the contrary, when the British or the European authors are talking and identifying as a British paramountcy or Pax Britannica, then they are just giving away that idea to British lake. When was it? The idea is, when was it? Were British so significant by that time? No. Come on, they are using the networks and the nodes of capitalism which we had established. Okay, so the idea is that Dwarka, I am not trying to romanticize, by the way, the idea of Indianness and all that. Not even nationalist point of view. This is purely historic point of view. I am just a historian, and in none other capacity I am talking about. So it is not coming up like, eulogical or glorification of our history. It is not glorification. It is not even bias. It is not even prejudiced. Because the idea is that you have to have neutral and objectified history, where we talk about significant ports and merchant enclaves. Because this history needs your attention. Look at the networks. Now, where we sign it, Mandvi, Jamnagar, Bhavnagar, Porbandar, Persian Gulf, Red Sea, East Africa, and archipelagic island of the Indian Ocean in the Southeast Asia. The Halar stretch around Jamnagar, and then all these communities who were involved. And look at the reach. It is so wide and so webby that you can't even, like, where it stems out. So what I could do is this. Surat was, of course, Bandar-e-Mubarak, and it was the one who took over in the 16th century and the 17th century, the prominence. So concurrently, traders from Kutch, Sindh were trying to secure firmer position on the Arabian Gulf, Bombay, Calicut, Cochin, Calcutta, and then Marwar, Sindh, Jaisalmer, Pali, landlocked also. So it is like, three ways we see. One is your oceanic network, second is your coastal network, the third is your hinterland network, and if you want to go further, then inland networks and mainland and overland networks. This is the way history is to be seen, because geographic constructs are missing in our understanding. Because we are not looking at how the land to land, the diverse networks are shaping up and stemming out. So the overwhelming bulk of trade of orbiting around maritime zone from Bombay to Gulf of Kutch. This is the huge collaboration. See, this is what I could come out. Oceanic and transoceanic, minor, inland, hinterland, which I just spoke, coastal circuits, intercoastal networks major across the sea. So it's this. It's this. And beyond that, of course, we have this entire idea of the ports which I can. Actually, Guntur Acharya talks about 84 ports. 84 ports of the Indian Ocean, major, minor, whatever you say, or however you identify active, inactive. But these were the networks which connected with the Gulf of Kutch. So I have given different directions to this based upon what was exchanged, which commodities were exchanged, how capital flow was directed and germinated and evolved. So, So this particular, the Arabian Sea, Indian Peninsular Arc and Eastern Waters is what this particular map is showing. And commodity in circulation. This is where the idea of capital comes. How are we so resourceful? Do you think only West Coast had everything? No. West Coast was resourceful and it was going over to all the direction to pack whatever from mundane to high value commodities, whatever they could load in their or on their ship, they would load it, take it to sea, at sea, crossing the oceanic turbulent or perilous or boisterous waters, and taking up the idea of material culture, mobility, supply, trans-regionality, everything. This is really the idea of enterprise. My title, where I consciously added up the word enterprise, right? I mean, you can think about the times which I am talking about where you have industriousness of artisans. Today, we all were deliberating on the idea of metallurgy and all that, right? So actually, artisans were the contributor also. They were silent players because in the engagement of seafarers and traders, you don't talk about artisans who are supplying all these commodities which were exotic in nature. Say, for example, even textile weavers. We don't talk about them, but they are also not aware about where their products are going. But it is in circulation. So the idea is of circularity. And then circularity, participants are known, unknown, player, non-player, whatever you call them. And then this is the idea, one of the chief players in trans-regionality, exchange of religious thoughts, pilgrimage, culture, exchange, and seafaring. All this is coming through this. How trans-regional networks were formed. It's just not pilgrimage. It is beyond that. It is not just culture. It is beyond that. It is just not commerce. It is beyond that. So whatever beyond you would like to explore, this world offers you. This is the world which will give you the idea of key islands and then critical network dynamics and this Eastern Indian Ocean. Now, Eastern Indian Ocean was not that easy. Here comes the idea of maritime terminologies, lexicon exchange, and how vocabulary is developing. Maritime vocabulary, which I was talking to Rajesh sir. Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just ending. So the Indian Ocean has a special place in the Indian maritime history, And this is the one I wanted to show you. In Eastern Indian Ocean. Can you just make out from this particular, I will just read it out for you if you don't read Gujarati. Javard Bhavard. Can you make out what is the meaning of Javard? This is connected with, of course, networks which I was talking about. This is connected with Eastern Indian Ocean for more hints. And this is connected with Southeast Asia for more hints. Come on, we are very close. Give me the Java, towards Java, Indonesia, right? That is Eastern Java we talk about. Recently I was in Indonesia and I was looking at Eastern Java, like how this comes in Gujarati novel and trying to understand the complexity. The complexity is that this Diwan who had regularized the trade, he was known as Jawar Shah. Jawar Shah, in the sense the one who is dealing in the trade with Java, and the entire novel is named after Javard Bhavard. Bhavard is Bhavnagar, by the way. So, towards Java, coming back to Bhavnagar. This is how. So, Javard Shah Diwan of Chavda ruler and his trading fraternity had monopolized this scheme called Gotri trade. Now, I know if I'd say Gotri, you won't understand. But if I say Gotra, you understand, right? Gotra means the commodity. Here why Gotri term is used, and this is very astrological and astronomical also. So Gotra word is used to identify commodities of the same group. Commodities belonging to the same group, because people belonging to same Gotra, right? Similarly, how commodification has also astrological, astronomical intervention. So here we talk about Gotri Vyapar and Varmal. What is Varmal? If I say Varmal, you won't understand. Even I was juggling when I read Varmal. But if I say Vimo, Vima, so then you will understand that, oh, it is maritime insurance system. Yeah, in Gujarati we call it Vimo utaryo ke nahi. So, like, have you got your insurance or not? And this comes from the maritime compulsion. There was a compulsion to the idea that if you are taking your ship at sea, you have to have Varmal, you have to have insurance. If you do not have insurance, you can't go ahead with it. Now, these are the terminologies telling you what is my maritime knowledge system I'm talking about. And then it gave way to business culture, astrological speculation, market prices, panchang, lunar calendar, everything. Till date, Mumbai Samachar, if you pick up, it's a local Gujarati newspaper, very popular in Gujarat and also in Mumbai. Every day, that astrologer speculates that what is the market for, say for example, cotton or silver or for gold. Every day, by default. This is what I was telling you, that we go beyond astrology, right? I mean, astrological intervention in your life, it is about commerce also. So, trans-regional trade networks between Cambay, Gujarat, Java, and different times, different rulers tried to secure it because there was a threat of piracy, pirates. Because this, you can imagine the prosperous nature of trade. It must be carrying huge booties, huge species. That's why it was so secured. Convoy system came into existence. So we have not borrowed from the British or the Dutch or the Portuguese. Convoy system we also originated with. Yeah. So the forming of convoys endorsed the notion of reciprocity for coastal economies. Polity thrived on the seaway commercial traffic. Yeah. So these are the historical contexts. These are the people about whom I was talking about. This is one of those port towns which contributed hugely, Mundra. You know, by Adani port, by the way now. But those days it was Mundra port. And these are the players on whom I focus. Players of trans-regionality. He's a Bhatia trader, Kachhi Bhatia trader. And you can see how cosmopolitan the shop looks like, you know, when you have Arab, but not Arab, actually African Arab sitting in his shop, right? So this is what is the idea, that how, where we were. And these are he was the dominant tycoon of Zanzibar. And Jairam Shivji, he was the one, from whom the Sultan of Muscat and Zanzibar would borrow money. This is where our economic prowess is and then there is this commodity power play. I just quickly rush through the remaining slides, so give you an
Madam,
idea.
we can conclude now in
Yeah. So that's
1
fine.
minute time.
Yes. So this is cotton. Again, talking about Bombay Cotton Merchant, East India Company, micro working systems. And this is where I wanted to actually focus, bankless bank and models of invisible networks, how our Hundi system was so professional and so important that we were here. And competing with American merchants in Zanzibar. And American merchants sought our partnership. That is what is my idea. We were having the upper hand, not they. They wanted the partnership. And the fellow I showed you, he was rejecting as many times he could. But finally he gave way. So this is where the idea comes. System, I hope, these are the records. Giving you the idea that we knew documentation. We knew how to have ledger records. Our sophisticated trading accountancy system, right? And these are the records. I with great difficulty started reading it, rereading, because as many times you read it, there is no comma, no full stop, so it confuses you where you are. So these are the Hundi entries, and these are the silent players I was talking about. So yeah, we are everywhere. This is related to ivory, high value commodity. Next time if SRIVT again calls me, I offer this lecture. So, so the okay, so yeah, conclusion
Thank you,
takes
madam,
you
very
this
much.
way. This is the conclusion. I don't have time
Thank
to
you.
read out also conclusion, but I hope you understood what is the conclusion.
No, it's
So
very
thank you so
interesting,
much.
madam. I think we have got a separate session for the question answer. We would have continued, especially pictures
Yeah.
more, but there's no time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chaya Goswami Garu, for such a valuable speech. That was really motivating. I would like to ask Session Chair Dr. Vikas Kumar Saxena Garu to present memento, shawl, and certificate to our speaker. Our team will help you with the felicitation. Sir, you could announce the next speaker.
So, second lecture is on demonstrate the absolute and evident modernity of Tripur Viman model for the construction of underwater drones by Srimati Sahiti, Sri Ramoju, and Siraj Sankaram, scientific researcher, Spineza University. So I welcome, please come on the dais. So you have got 25 minutes if you want to invite 5 minutes questions. Thank you.
Namaskaram to one and all. I'm here to present my research on. I'm here to demonstrate the absolute and evident modernity of Tripura Vimana. This Vimana is taken from Vaimanika Shastra by Bharatwaja Maharshi. So we are imagining Tripura Vimana modernity in underwater drone. So I'll just give the overview of my research. First one is I'll introduce everything basics to my research, then I'll show my designs, then I'll show my simulation assemblies, then I conclude with simulations. So to introduce so there's a Vimana Shastra written by Bharat Maharshi. So in that there are many Vimanas which are given to us. In that there is Tripura Vimana. This Tripura Vimana is multi-mode. It can work in air, on land, and in and on water. So it has multifunctional capacities. So you can see this is not the proper structure, but this is the good picture to show you that there are three puras. So this is called Tripura because it works in three puras, so three areas. So three areas are called Tripuras, so it is called Tripura Vimana, and it has 3 floors which is dedicated to each area to work upon. So now we have Tripura Vimana, but our research is on imagining Tripura Vimana as an underwater drone. So there are many drones as of now, but the problem with advanced drones are if you go in one way, it shows only the direction. If you want to see other angle, it cannot see the other angle. You have to move the whole body. So, but there are many advantages with Tripura Vimana, with the design and the internal components within it, because it facilitates the good components in it. So here I want to tell small line about the underwater vehicle. So underwater vehicle is an unmanned vehicle, which is, we don't need any operator to operate within it. We can just control it from the outside. We can take the input and give the out. So this is the introduction. So from here my co-author will take over.
Hi, my name is Shiva. So from here I'm going to continue. Like coming to the design part, the main thing like the bridge is the components which we have considered are from the book Vaimanika Shastra. So we try to take all the components mentioned in the book and try to integrate it into a design. So the design contains 3 floors. So basically the first floor is mainly related to the, as we said before, the Tripura Vimana is mainly used for 3 modes. So the first floor is mainly for the links for the travel on roads. So, and also it can also be used when we are near to the water surfaces also. So it's not like, for example, right now the ships and everything what we have right now, it's not like they can come till the docks and everything. So if we can integrate the wheels into this, it would be great, so that we can get even the ships till the shore as well. So that is the main part of the main purpose of the first floor. And coming to the components it contains, coming to the back room, the main purpose of the back room is to facilitate all the mechanisms related to the rotor mechanism systems, and whereas the front room is mainly for to ensure all the mechanisms for the propeller which is placed in the front. And as well in the back itself, we also have an electric power unit room which facilitates all the power necessary for the complete floor. and which has the connections through the above the roof, and the roof is placed approximately 7 feet from the pita. And in each floor, there are all the 3 floors contains the air pipes which keep the constant air circulation for the fresh air. And although it is a unmanned vehicle, previously Tripura Vimanas were used for traveling with the people. So we ensured that all the air pipes and everything, all the display units and all are exactly the same. And the main purpose of the second floor is to maneuver in and on the water surface. So we have 2 ballast tanks placed in the 2 corners of the pita. So whenever we try to move underwater, we try to fill them, and when we want to move, we just try to propel the water out of the tanks. And coming to the third floor is mostly about the control units and everything. Like the control unit is where it controls automatically based on the attitude and everything. It controls the whole Vimana. And the other room is for the power generation room. And the other one are the air pipes which we are mostly concerned. So coming to the assembly, we designed all the 3 floors separately, and we later try to integrate them, and using few features we try to close. And coming to the simulations part, since we didn't consider all the lohas exactly, but we tried to consider the closest ones. So we took 3 materials and we tried to apply the pressure like as the same amount of pressure what the Vimana would be facing if it is underwater up to 5 kilometers. So according to that, we tried to simulate for all the 3 materials. And coming to the usages, the main usage of the Tripura Vimana would be, as this is for the underwater drone, the main purpose of designing this Vimana is so that to see that when we try to go into the underwater surface, we want to study and analyze the ecology of the underwater. So that is the main usage of the Vimana for what we have considered. Because this is not the Tripura Vimana, but this is the Tripura Vimana which we are using it as an underwater drone with the modern technologies. So it is not the exact model of the Tripura Vimana. So in the future, in the future, it would be great if we could come up with the materials that have been used in the Tripura Vimana, because the lohas and everything are, we could say that we have never seen the materials or anything. It's state of the art, we can say that as, because a material which can be used in all the 3 areas, like when we are in the air, we want the material to be as light as possible so that we can have free motion in the air. Whereas when we are in the water, we want it to be as heavy as possible so that we can maneuver, we can go as depth as we can. So having a material which can be used in both the areas would be like state of the art. So it would be great if, like, we are trying to do the research for the future papers, we want to try to do the research on the materials if possible. And we are also trying to integrate all the components which I have mentioned before into the original model and do a scaled down version of it in the future paper. So coming to the conclusion, with the help of all the data and everything we have considered, like all the simulation results, I think with the 3 materials which I have taken, this is the best material as of now. And before I get into the lohas and everything, as of now what I have, I think this is the best material out of the 3. So, and the references we have been taken from the Vaimanika Shastra from Bharat Maharshi. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Srimati
much.
Sati Garu and Sivashankaram Garu for your valuable speech. I would like to ask Session Chair Dr. Vikas Kumar Saxena Garu to present memento, shawl and the certificate
Okay,
to our
before
speakers.
that, I think they kept in time. I just want to know 2-3 questions because it's very interesting. Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes.
You have used this because you are talking more, it is underwater. So I was just thinking underwater navigation. Are you going to use some sonars for that, or because the underwater navigation sonars, because you are taking this directly from this Viman for underwater application. What kind of the navigation you are thinking about underwater?
There are many communication systems. We are trying to figure and the power system too, because in Tripura Vimana they are using the solar panels, but in underwater we don't get the solar, right? So we are thinking of
Yeah.
first power, then communication.
Okay, you can think of just other thing, because you are talking about ASTM A36. Because underwater, I don't know, you might have taken from the ASTM handbook, the material which you use underwater, it should be highly weldable and amenable to stress corrosion cracking. Because if it is not there, it will crack at the weldments. I don't know what kind of structure you are having. So this is very, very important. Look at the corrosion property when you go for. And titanium alloy, I think you have used 6L, that is a beta titanium alloy, we call it. Beta, it has got very high fracture toughness. Look at, because it is highly alloyed. It's a weldability aspect you must study, because you are taking forward this research. And other thing I just want to, because you are taking materials more, maybe some research lab like DRDO. DMRL, we have developed some AB grade of steels, which we have worked for Vikrant applications, we have made. Other thing, IIT Madras, you can connect with them. They're a department of oceanography. Other thing, I think one of the sponsors, I think NSTL is there, Visakhapatnam. They have got underwater testing. You can do all your testing there under that.
Helpful.
Pardon?
That would be really helpful.
Helpful. And if you want this lab or our lab, DRDO can help you doing a stress corrosion cracking test under sea environment, I think 3.5% NaCl also. I think I was involved in this program. So it's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, sir, there are three materials here, right? We are just here to show the simulation to keep some metal, we put that, but we are trying to research more on Trinetra Loha, which is actually used in Tripura Vimana. Yes, because of that material.
Damage tolerance property underwater, because even this material is very good, we have taken from SDM. Underwater, its property will come to conflict only.
Yes.
So that is what, once it cracks, you know
Yes.
what is going to happen inside,
Yes.
especially welding area.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now the last lecture is by Dr. Madhuri Sharon, Nasadia Suktam. Question is the quest for the knowledge. She is Director, SINT Jaipur. I just read out. It is a great honor to introduce Dr. Madhuri Sharon. Has held prominent roles including Director at Reliance Industries, Vice President at GUFIC, Principal at SICES College. She lectured at Pune Vidyapeeth and Bolton College, Technical College, conducted postdoctoral research at Bolton Institute, has worked on a special assignment for the Union and Ministry of Non-Renewable Energy India. She founded Reliance Life Science Division, presented TV serials and published extensively. Dr. Sharon has received awards such as Bharat Gaurav and Most Influential Scientist of the Decade in Nanomedicine. She has guided 18 PhD students, authored 14 books, published over 215 papers, and holds 11 patents. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Madhuri Sharan, who is a great woman and an influential scientist. I think it is through video.
At the onset, I would like to thank SRIVT's team, and especially to two persons, Shastri ji and Kavya. Kavya for introducing me to a very learned authority, A.B.A. Shastri ji. And of course, along with it came the whole SRIVT team, which has given me so much input about the Indian knowledge system. I'm very much obliged to you. It's been nearly, I think, little more than 2 years since we have come in contact with SRIVT, and especially this 25-year celebration and the superb lectures that they have been arranging. I'm very obliged for that. And I give my hearty blessings to this team to go to further heights in future. In the beginning of Nasadiya Suktam, a question is the quest for knowledge. I would like to say, why did I add this title, question is the quest for knowledge. One of my guru, Everett Arhard, he told me that, Madhu, if you live in question, then only you will learn. If you live in answer, you will not learn. And he showed me a pen. He said, what is it? I said, it's a pen. So he said, that is living in an answer, not in a question. So you should have now asked me, what is it made of? Is it metal or plastic? Does it have blue ink or red ink or green ink or any other ink? What's the duration? It can be which company makes it, how much does it cost, what is the market for it, are there any other companies producing pen? Then you come to know things, how it is being made, how it is produced. This suktam gave me the same thing, reminded me about the Werner Erhard's teachings that I had. That question is the quest for knowledge. And this Nasadiya Suktam, it is a part of 10th mandal of Rig Veda, and it has only 7 shlok, but each shlok in itself can take a whole lecture, but condensing it is a really hard job. But as I said, I have a very meager knowledge. I did not have real guru of Veda. It was Swadhyay that I came in contact and continued with it. So let me tell you how I have perceived Nasadiya Suktam. According to me, it should have been, Vedya should have put it as the first bundle. But when I went through this, and after that Parush Suktam, and after that Hiranyagarbha Suktam, I realized that no, if they would have given it right in the beginning, people would have ended in confused state. So this was in the last mandal, and perhaps that's why they did it like that. So it's a hymn of creation. It's a sukta of creation. But how creation came, existence came, So Nasadiya word comes from the word na asi, and which means it did not exist. So, and what did not exist? We will go through that. So what I would like to do is take each shloka, look at its meaning, and see, this is one thing that about the Vedas is that you can see it through the window of science, through the window of religion, through the window of philosophy, through the window of spirituality, as per your understanding. So whenever I read translations of Nasadiya Sukta, different people have translated it in a different way. I'm going through it first just as a word translation and then what I could perceive. And in the end, I would like to compare it with the modern day scientists' approach about the creation of universe. So the first shlok is Na sadasi no sadasi tadani nasi drajo no vyoma paroyat kimavari vah kuhakasya sharmanva kimasid gahanam gabhiram. That means there was neither nor existence nor existence. So there was no space or nothing above or below, no sky. This is what the word Vyoma means. I have translated it as a sky. So there was no sky. Then it questions what covered it. Where was it? This an existence or non-existence? In whose protection? Who was having it? Was there water? They say Gahanam Gabhiram. It could mean plasma also. So was there a plasma or water, deep and unfathomable or being incapable of being fully explored or understood? This was a big question that they pose you. So the first shloka itself is taking you into question, and everybody has answered in their own way. So the first sentence talks about existence, whether there was or whether there wasn't. And the second one, it was where it was, in whose production it was there plasma, etc. So if you condense it, the initial stanza paints a picture of complete emptiness and uncertainty, a state where the very concept of being and non-being are undefined. It confuses you, and the essential component of the natural world as we understand them are missing. So when we say universe, there are a lot of things that comes into my mind, but they are taking us into a very different realm. Then we come to the second sukta. Namritu asid amritam na tarhi naratriya ahan asid praketah आनीतपातं स्वधया तदेकं तस्माद् धान्यन्न परः किञ्चनास. So this means neither death nor immortality was there. Now this death is not human death or animal death or plant death as we know today. This death is about existence. This death is about pralaya, finishing, nor immortality, nor it was to be continued forever. No sign of night or day. So there was no light, there was no darkness, and that one breathed by its own. That one is the universe by its own nature without air. So this air is not oxygen. They are having a very different concept. Besides that, there was nothing else. So what it says, what we are talking about, existence and non-existence. Then second shlok confuses it to you and puts you into another question. Otherworldly force that animates the cosmos in ways eluding human comprehension. Our comprehension of animation or of being alive is different, but what they mean that each and every entity that existed in universe was animated. And as I said, that even an atom or even an electron, even a string, they are all in motion, vibrating motion or rotatory motion. So that motion itself is a form of animation. So within a domain where the ordinary boundaries of life and mortality dissolves, this solitary entity weaves existence itself. We have to look at this word solitary. Initially, things started with a very simple, uncomplex universe entity, which eventually ended up into the complex formation of the universe. So what it now it comes, initially it says that there was no light and no day. But now in the third shlok, it talks about the darkness. They said that first there was darkness, but starts another question and confusion, that darkness was hidden by darkness. The universe was undistinguishable because whatever was hidden, and with whatever it was hidden, that was very difficult to understand for our present day knowledge. And I still think that though the word salilam is used there, but I still feel that they must have meant plasma, because salil is not only the water that we have a concept of. So that which becoming by the void was covered, and the one by the force of heat came into being. This is very important. Second sentence, it talks about tapas. Tapas means heat. So heat is coming into the being. Now we also note that at the beginning of Big Bang, heat had a very small, important role to play. So that heat was the cause of initiation of liveliness. And if you remember, the Nad Brahma theory, the origin of universe through initially, where it indirectly explains the existence of nothing, as Yajurveda says, and Shatpat Brahman says there was existence of nothing. But for coming into force, first energy that was required is called tapas. So the darkness was there, but it was not visible darkness because it was covered by darkness. Very difficult to understand. All this was a signless ocean. So there was an ocean. That's why I use the word water in translating it. But there was a void. There was some emptiness, something that was not there when the thing coming into being was concealed by emptiness. And then comes the power of heat, and it generates the animation. So this work contemplates, and it gives an answer to the primordial expansion from a darkness, and darkness which was enfolded by darkness. It was a base of profound mystery. From this obscurity emerges the one, the primal cosmic principle, the genesis attributed to the fervent heat of tapas. Perhaps metaphorical, this heat ignites a creative force giving birth to existence. So now from non-existence to existence, it explains. Next. The next shloka is about the desire that arose in it. So there was heat, there was some generation of life, but from where comes the desire? In the Parush Suktam, desire is explained very much in detail, but here it says that it was the desire, or desire for the primal seed of mind of the universe, or the creator of the universe, if there was any. That's how the sages have perceived it and seen it in, during their trance in their hearts. I would rather call it a trance, the bond of existence in non-existence. And next we'll describe what was it, existence, non-existent, that it was being bonded together. So this shloka is about desire and primal seed, and then creation of existence. So desire shows cosmic mind, not like our mind or animal mind, but a cosmic mind, the universe's mind. Cosmos was taken very much as an alive or entity that could do all the functions. Next, please. So if we conclude this fourth shloka, this introduces the concept of desire or primal will, and this manifests into consciousness. That consciousness was the cause of creation. I know science doesn't believe in consciousness at the moment, in creation of cosmos or universe, but the ancient sages believed into it because it correlated, it created connection between existence and non-existence. This shloka is very interesting. It obliquely was extended their cord. So now they are talking about something which is joining the other. And in if you take it just as a translation, that was there a below or above, because initially it said there was no space and nothing, but maybe with the creation started, the concept or the existence of above and below became, and seeds or the primeval seed that was there, that was one of the mighty force along with tapas, because that force created the potentialities of converting the energy, as the Parish Suktam explains later, into existence or into the creation of universe. So the universe emerged from this complex interaction of existence, non-existence, of below and above, where the dimensions started having its existence or entity as an entity of the universe. So the universe emerged from this complex interaction, and from it arose the breath of life. So Jad to Chetan, that concept, it is the power that is described here. So the cord, it's the link which stretches across something that exists above. So from wherever it started, it did expand. It's not clear whether it expanded in all the directions, but it's clear that it expanded above. And the inherent power, there were places of seeds, there were powers, there was inherent force offering above to get converted into creation. Next, please. So the role of higher organizing principle or entropy is emerging here of life and the cosmos. So, entropy, that is always in a confused state, and it differs according to the state. It's almost as if there was higher entropy state and a lower entropy state. So maybe those two were above and lower that they are mentioning, and they are connected by a cord, which is some sort of bridge. And nowadays we are talking about the string theory, maybe something like that. I don't know. It's very difficult to explain. Next, please. Now, before coming to an end, it says who really knows what was there. All that the suttas that we are explaining here, but who will proclaim it that this is what happens? Maybe sages saw it in the trance, but who really knows it? When was it produced? When did the universe happen? When the creation happened? Did God come after that? Because God existence is not mentioned anywhere before. So God came after the creation of a universe. Then who knows when it has arisen? God doesn't know, because God concept comes after that. So this is a very, very thought-provoking shlok. It really, when it says ki who knows, who shall proclaim, from where it was, and how it started, and when it started getting manifested, and when it was manifested, we created Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and all that concept also comes in Veda. But that manifestation, creation, who really knows it? Who can really tell us? We don't know. Next, please. So this shlok reflects a sense of awe and humility in the face of universe's mysteries. We start realizing that we don't know anything. Even if we talk about the hymn of creation, we don't know who, when, why, how created it. Some facts we are adding, but we don't know how. So it acknowledges the origin of universe. Maybe but it might have been beyond divine comprehension. There, because it says there may not have been God at that time, because God came into existence when different types of powers were created, and each power had a different god. Vayu, Agni, Jal, all these gods were there. So, very limits of knowledge and understanding, it puts into your mind. And then comes the time to meditate and try and learn it. Next, please. The last shlok is really mind blowing. When this creation has arisen, perhaps it formed itself, or perhaps it did not. What we believe now that it's all due to physics laws, or maybe it is not. The one who looks down on it in the highest heaven, only he knows. Now he says maybe there is something else apart from our universe, maybe indicating a multi-universe theory. Only he knows. Or maybe he also doesn't know. He was also created with the one. So, it's a very agnostic concept that they are giving to our mind. So, this creation, from where it came and where it was produced, and if not, and who is the overseer or who is the creator, that is also a very big question. We don't know that him. Next para, please. Next slide, please. So the concluding verse encapsulates the hymn, and as I said, an agnostic and introspective spirit. It suggests that the ultimate truth about the universe or universe's origin might be unknowable. Even to the highest cosmic powers, they may not know. Those who embody the profound philosophical acceptance of uncertainty and the limits of human understanding, even they may not know. So, this is where it ends up questioning. Nasadiya Suktam. If each question we take through the eyes of a spiritualist, through the eyes of a scientist, and start churning it, maybe we will get answer. Next, please. So, as I said, I am a scientist. So, I will go through the scientific concept, whether whatever we have read in Nasadiya Suktam, it is in agreement with the contemporary science or not. The first is the concept of primordial state. It assumes in the beginning there was a Big Bang theory which describes the universe emerging from a singularity. There was nothing. The Rig Veda depiction of a pre-creation world of a state of non-existence aligns with the idea of an initial state from which the cosmos unfolded. So we agree with the contemporary science, or contemporary science agrees with our Veda. And the role of energy, that energy is tapas or heat in creation. So this is another thing, because during Big Bang, if you talk about the quantum fluctuation stage, there was a lot of heat, and then it went into the darkness, what we call Brahma ka Ek Ratri, and in which he created everything. So temperature energy is very important. Actually, Rig Veda gives first importance to Agni. That's why the first shloka is Agni Mile Purohitam, is about welcoming Agni. The reason was that Agni had tapas, heat energy, Agni has light energy, Agni has sound energy, all three types of wavelengths Agni has. So temperature and energy is crucial in the formation of universe, and it is very well explained in Parush Suktam. Next, please. There is one more thing that we agree, as a scientist, we agree that emergence of complexity. Initially, what started was very simple homogeneous state. First nothing, then a simple homogeneous state, and which converted into complex and structured one. I think in my last lecture in SRIVT lecture series, I talked about it. And both the Nasadiya Sukta and astrophysics agree with it. But we in Nasadiya Sukta describe very many things in Hiranyagarbha and Paurusuktam that science doesn't describe. So the gradual process of cosmic evolution that we talk about as a scientist, that there were galaxies formed and a universe formed and different types of metals and gases and all that formed. All these are complex things. And then they had a union and they created the complex universe. Next, please. But there are disagreement. And one of the biggest disagreement is consciousness and the desire of creation. Consciousness has not yet been perceived by scientists. I know all scientists in some way or the other are confused and meditate on it. But the thing is that they cannot prove, they have not been so far able to prove consciousness experimentally, so they are not agreeing with it. They feel that this creation of universe is without consciousness or without first seed of mind, and it's only the physical process, the law of nature, without invoking it, just happened. This is what the contemporary science believe. And the agnostic perspective, while him concludes acknowledgement of unknown and perhaps unknowable, that we don't know this or maybe we will never know it. But science doesn't believe in it. Science today still feels that one day we will get the answer. It may be the combined studies of many scientists, but one person to understand it, who has maximum of 100 years in human body to know the universe and the created universe, is really difficult. Sometimes I feel we were born ignorant, we will die ignorant, but our gray matters will go on in search of knowledge. Next disagreement that I could see, next slide, please, is personification. You know, Agni Devta, they started Vayu Marudgan ho gaye. All these, that when they started talking about, this is not accepted to the present design. That personifying things, that they say these are all natural cosmic forces phenomena, and this has got nothing to do as deities. So here, this is the biggest conclusion: the consciousness and personification. Maybe personification came a little later, when we started explaining Vedas. But what Ved Vyasji perceived must have been little different than our mind can perceive. Next, please. So, as I said, Kinasadiya Suktam is taking us to singularity. Singularity is still something we all are trying to understand. We believe it's a hypothetical future point in time and which outstrips human comprehensions or control. It's entirely different thing. They say maybe the center of black hole, according to them, can be taken as the singularity point. Next, thank you very much.
I wish I could thank Dr. Madhuri Sarangaro in person. Sir, would you like to do a Q&A session?
I should come there or can? I'll read from here, no problem. I can conclude. Should I come there? Anybody would like to ask any question from her, or should I conclude? Thank you very much, SRIVT, for giving me this opportunity to conclude, though it's not my area, but I try to understand something. First lecture was by Dr. Chaya Goswami. It was very excellent historical presentation of maritime knowledge system and how this trading was done. It was a good knowledge about that. And it was a good thing to know that how Jats, I thought they are in north only, but they migrated all the way to Kutch to Bahran, that Gulf. It was a very thing. And Amravati, from Amravati, I think it is in Andhra somewhere, they shifted everything from this coast to other coast. You see the whole thing going, what kind of system was there. Especially Machli Yantra was very good actually, coming to this navigation technologies were there and they were done by the Brahmins. You see this coexistence of these things, Brahmins doing this kind of technology for us. One thing I don't know, it was very important, precasting of this thing, precasting of this weather predictions in those times in the sea. It would have been very, very difficult actually, better to take it and it's very important there. And coming to this 84 ports is a real knowledge and the commodity exchange you talk very nicely, but one question remains, what was the exchange? For example, coffee was the exchange with the clove. How they were fixing the exchange rate of one commodity to other, it was based upon demand and supply or other, I really do not know. It would have been. And I'm very much surprised that we talk about all insurance system. It was existing 500 AD back and the insurance system was there. And more interesting was this thing, jo Bahi Khata mein unka jo calculation was there, it was very excellent to see in Gujarati. And that shows how Gujaratis were with Arabic and that combination was existing. It's very, very informative lecture, at least for me. And Jawad Bhawad ka bhi exchange was very, very good. That thing I was never knowing. Second lecture was Sahit Sri Ramuju. It was on Tripura Viman Shastra, Rishi Bharadwaj has written. And very nicely, they have taken this technology, how to apply it for underwater for their own technologies. Of course, it is a multifunctional, ground, air plus underwater, all the three technologies has to be integrated, blast tank and navigation system. And they have given a mathematical simulation of this thing. I hope they go ahead with the CFD, computational fluid mechanics of this thing underwater with this kind of things. And I think and the material welding, other thing I'll really talk. I think it's a very, very ambitious project is there. And other thing coming to by Madhuri Sharan, last one, it was most difficult for me, but I understood start from the singularity. And singularity, there are nothing. We understand all the thing, all the three tattva we call it, Sat, Tam and Raj. They all were in some bhav earlier due to some quantum fluctuations. It was Big Bang occurred just like that, quantum fluctuation we call it. And that is how heat was generated, lot of temperature was there. And temperature was the only, I think heat was the force which has given manifestation of, universe was there. And tapas, he was talked about. And that is how then they came the desire of the consciousness. We keep on talking about the consciousness today, whether it generates from the brain or it is a universal consciousness. So it's very nice to know from this sukta we came to know consciousness was existing even before the universe came into the physical being. It's a very good knowledge for us. That is called dawn of the existence was there. Na asi, it does not exist actually. Then second sukta was there. It was a universe desire, consciousness. There was no physicality. Universe has a desire for the creation. So as soon as creation come, then this sum, if I understand all the three, Raj sum, there was a disturbance. That is how the physical things came into picture. Then she talks about the third sukta, I think, complex interaction of this thing, universe. That is how life comes, existence came into thing. And then again thing fifth comes, life came. Then that was the universal mind. Then the physical mind comes. And the physical mind comes, as you know, as soon as we come in this universe, immediately conditioning of the environment, mind get conditioned and all. And we go back. She was telling we have to re-explore that universal, what was the originally was there. So we come back to that, the thing comes, who I am. Ramana Maharshi ne hamesha pucha who I am. So we have to go beyond the conditioning of the physical system, then only you can attain that thing. But as we say that it's very difficult to even realize that thing, because our language is mind only. Mind only try to do, if anything physical thing go out of physical, which is beyond space and time, it is not perceptible by the physical mind. So there is a question mark, and I think this sukta talks very nice, creation of the universe. Thanks. And that's all, I think. Thank you very much, sir, giving me this chance to conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas Kumar Saxena Garu, for your concluding remarks. I would now like to request Dr. ABS Sastry Garu to present our session chair with memento, shawl, and certificate. And now, a few words from ABS Sastry Garu himself.
Thank you all. I don't want to bother you, but today is very successfully we could complete the program. Thank you all, and actually due to some lack of time, I have not answered any questions. This is only concept of let us take it to the next level. One or two questions, I don't think this is concluding. If any questions from anyone, I am ready. सुबह से किसी को जवाब दिया नहीं. So if you ask some one or two questions, otherwise I will close the session. Thank you. Tomorrow morning by what is the 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock the keynote session will be there. Keynote session paper, I think schedule is there with you. And tomorrow morning I think A.K. Upadhyaya and other eminent scholars are. Then next after keynote session, the parallel session will start for startup. It's a rare combination what we planned for this seminar. We would like to encourage, ignite the young minds to focus on ancient sciences and what are the opportunities they can explore with their energetic and advanced thinking. So we are involving a number of startup companies, a good number, and simultaneously we are giving the complete understanding about the technologies and what are our technologies, ancient technologies and sciences, where they can involve and they can explore something. And because all these science and technologies are very green and sustainable technologies. So, any questions? Any questions from anyone or any matter? Because our trial is to give complete understanding about our great heritage, so our sciences and technology. So, shall we close? Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhudaktu Sahaviryankaravavahe Tejasvinamadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Dharmasya Jayostu. Thank you all.